It's time to accelerate. Hi, this is Andy. Welcome to another edition of Frontline Friday with my regular and very special guest, Bridget Gleason. Now, before we get to the show, Bridget and I have a favor to ask of you. We'd really appreciate it if you took time right now to leave a review for this show on iTunes. And while you're there, click the button, subscribe to Accelerate. Make sure you get Frontline Friday automatically each week. Also, we need to hear from you. More specifically, we need your sales questions. What can we answer for you? What challenges do you have that we can help you with? So go to accelerate.fm/frontline and enter your question there. Each month, we're going to select one listener's question to be the question of the month. And the winner will receive a $50 Amazon gift card. So remember, go to accelerate.fm/frontline to give us your question and maybe win $50. So Bridget, how are you today?
Andy,
You're
you
fantastic.
know the answer. I'm doing great. Fantastic. And you?
Good. So, when you're out doing your 4 a.m. run in minus 5 degree weather.
Yeah. No, I'm not doing that. When it's minus 5, I go to the gym.
You go to the gym. Okay. Wondered about that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're completely bundled up. You had your balaclava on.
No, I did that. I've done that before, but now I've turned over a new leaf.
You've turned over a leaf. Okay. Interesting. I like running when it's cold. I like running when it's snowing. Of course, you know that. Raining, we're just, why? That was great. Running in the rain, nothing better. Okay. So, today we're going to talk about character and the importance of character in sales. See, I don't think we talk about character nearly enough. And I know it's sort of a loaded word. We talk about trust, we talk about knowing, we talk about liking. We buy from people we know, like, and trust. But really, what's at the heart of that? Isn't that character?
Well, don't you think that character and trust go hand in hand?
Well, I think the ability to build trust is an aspect of someone's character. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think we are more likely to trust people who are of high character. So I think they go in. I do think they go hand in hand.
Yeah. Absolutely. You can't. Well, the ability to build trust, inspire trust is an aspect of good character.
Yes.
But this idea of character and, saying good character, bad character seems almost a little, I don't know, at times archaic, but I don't think it is. I think it's something we don't talk about it enough as sort of part of an entire package of someone and their character. So I like to ask audience who I talk to is, how often do you trust someone whose character you don't respect?
I don't.
You don't. But, and I said, what do you call it when you buy something from someone of whose character you don't respect or of low character? And it's like, it's a scam, it's a con, or somebody that tricked you into trusting them. Oftentimes when that happens, you feel it when it's happening. Yeah.
And it's not good. It does not feel good.
No, not at all, right? So, I ask salespeople to sort of think about this. Are you trying to trick your buyers into trusting you? But wouldn't it just be easier to have, good character?
And how do you, Andy, define good character? Like when you think about character, how do you define that?
Well, let's start with the concept of character first before we define good or bad. Because, it's sort of, to me, it's sort of like habits. I talk about habits a lot, and I say habits fall into one of two categories, either good habits or bad habits, and it's not like bad habits are, detrimental or, use that in a sort of pejorative way. It's just that they're not serving you, to help you achieve what you want to achieve in life and relationships and so on. And so I think, character defined as the moral qualities distinctive to an individual, the mental and moral qualities distinctive to an individual, meaning emotional and moral qualities. So, that could mean, to me, it's like either with characters, it's either you have certain virtues or characteristics or character traits or you don't, empathy, integrity, honesty, loyalty, and so on, or you don't. And so that's like, it becomes sort of, when we talk about the idea of character and people having good character, to me, it's sort of a binary thing.
That you either have it or you don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's more of a scale. I don't think we're so black and white. I don't think humans are so black and white. I think we're complicated.
Well, I agree. We're hugely complicated. But let's say there are certain traits that are define good character. And again, we could say, empathy, integrity, honesty, loyalty. I mean, Jim Rohn, a famous business coach, he laid out 6 traits of good character: integrity, honesty, loyalty, self-sacrifice, accountability, self-control. And let's just, before debating those individually, let's just sort of take those as a given. Is if you have, is it possible to have 3 of those and only out of the 6, or do you need to have all 6, to your point?
And also, just go through them again. Name them again.
Integrity.
Uh-huh. Just go through them quickly.
Integrity, honesty, loyalty, self-sacrifice, accountability, self-control.
Okay. Let's take self-control.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people are very disciplined, and you would say, oh my God, they're definitely they've got a lot of self-control. And others you may say, oh, definitely they don't. And I think there are people who are going to fall in between. Well, sometimes they do. On these things they do. On those they don't necessarily. That's why I don't know that it's so binary that you have character or you don't. Like, I don't know that it's so binary. Yeah? No?
Yeah. Well, no, I'm thinking.
Okay. I'll give you time to think. All right. That's fine.
Yeah. Well, obviously, people are complex, and I talk about that all the time. So yeah, we have this scale. But I'm trying to think about it in this, context of, we have the responsibility to hire people to represent the companies that we work for, with our buyers, or we have we're individuals trying to get hired by companies, or we're representing companies, and sort of start off the whole conversation thinking, okay, well, how often do we explicitly talk about character as sort of a whole? Oftentimes I'll hear somebody talk about, when we're interviewing people of high integrity. But I don't really hear people talk about character as a whole, all these other traits, whether the ones Jim Rohn talks about, or it's others like, empathy or good habits or whatever. And so the idea of for me in this point, because I'm thinking more about this, is this something that we need to emphasize more when we're building our teams and trying to find the right people to join our team, fit into the culture we're creating to be able to serve our customers?
I think it's really important. Do you feel like people don't screen for that?
I think
don't think about that?
I don't think they think about it as much anymore.
I
mean, so I've sit in conversations all the time with sales leaders. Just last month, had 20 CROs in a room for a 2-day event. Now, we talked some about hiring, not a lot at this particular one. But when we were talking about it offline, the word, and that's why it struck me, is this word didn't come up. And so part of it's triggered by this because I've been thinking about this a lot recently, and the work I'm doing and writing and so on is that this idea of character. Because, as you know, I'm a huge believer in the importance and the central and core importance of good habits. And
right.
But I saw this quote from Vince Lombardi, which I don't think I've given on the show before, but he was, a childhood hero of mine, coach of the Green Bay Packers during their first 2 Super Bowl victories, which were the first 2 Super Bowls. And he had this quote. It says, winning is a habit. I'm just going to give you the quote. Winning is a habit. Watch your thoughts. They become your beliefs. Watch your beliefs. They become your words. Watch your words. They become your actions. Watch your actions. they become your habits. Watch your habits. They become your character.
I love it.
And
I think that's great.
Yeah, isn't that brilliant?
Yeah, I
mean,
really like that.
In such a logical fashion about how we go from thoughts to beliefs to words to actions to habits to character.
Yeah, I love that.
And so, you'd start talking about self-control, and obviously that's the habit around being able to make good decisions about what we do with our actions, which you could define as a habit. Is that really our habits to some degree define our character?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's I love his progression, and I mean it's really true. What I say, habits define our character. Yeah, the things you kind of do day in, day out without thinking about it.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. And I would say, I think about character of the people I'm hiring a lot. It's, for me, it is so important because, first of all, just who you're working with on the team, that's important, the team dynamic. I want somebody that is going to have that be customer centric. And I think it's hard to truly care about the customer if you don't have some of those qualities. And if you don't have high integrity and the loyalty, and you got to have some self-control. I think all those things are just critical.
Well, one of the things that was really interesting reading what Jim Rohn had written about good character is, I loved his definition of integrity, let's say, because it's not what I think most people think about when they think about integrity. So he said, that's integrity was number one on his list. What he was talking about was that integrity means that he called it an undivided life. I love that phrase. And he says integrity means that you're acting the same in all environments.
I've heard that. I've heard that also. That it's I don't remember who said it. Maybe it was Jim Rohn that I heard it years ago, and it was the same thing. That it's a consistency in your actions.
A congruency, I think, is
congruency. I've heard that term, congruency.
Right, is that regardless of the environment that we're in and who we're dealing with, that integrity is that we act the same.
Yeah, regardless.
Now, hopefully people don't take that to mean, well, if I treat everybody like crap, regardless of who they are, then I'm being, I have integrity.
I have integrity. I do it the same. I treat everybody poorly.
Yeah, I don't think that's really the message to take.
That wasn't the point. Yeah.
No, is, that we, if we treat our family one way, we treat our customers the other way, our colleagues, we treat everybody the same way. That we act the same in all those environments. And I think that's a great definition of integrity. It's a great habit to get into that forms your character. Yeah,
I like you said, as long as it's not, I consistently treat people very, very badly. I don't think that was the point.
I don't think that it's so. So I think for people to take the good thought away about integrity is, I love this idea is, don't have a divided life, have an undivided life. And it's a really simple thing to think about from a habit formation, because you always have this
undivided life.
Well, right. And forming new habits, it comes down to a choice, right? So there's a process how you change habits, actually. And there's a trigger to any sort of habitual behavior. There's a trigger. And then we have an automatic response or impulse about how we would respond to it. But then we have to just pause for a second. I know there's this choice to be made, right? So when you think about this from, leading an undivided life, is that, if we treat our family one way, we're dealing with customers, and you get this trigger from the customer, you might want to, your habitual behavior might be to say something that you wouldn't dare say to a family member, let's say. Is to take that pause, recognize what your impulse is and how you want to act, but take that pause for a microsecond and say, I've got a choice to make here. I can, treat this unique way, which is not the most effective way, or treat as I treat everybody else, then you repeat that. Understand you have that choice to make, which is the self-control part of it, ability to make good decisions about what you're going to do with your actions. You change your habits and you start developing that integrity.
Yeah, habits are hard to change. I mean, it really takes a lot of determination.
Well, actually, yeah, I mean, the research is also coming out on habit change and habit formation, is that it doesn't take determination, right? That
what does it take?
It's this recognition that we're making a choice, and we just have to make the right choice. And if we make the right choice repeatedly, then it starts becoming a habit. What the researchers are showing is a finding these days, is that we have limited reserves or reservoirs of willpower or determination. And so if we're relying on that, what happens is we become exhausted and we submit. So if we understand that's really a process and a choice, which Charles Duhigg has written about and many people have written about in terms of habit development, we just have to understand that we always have a choice. We have to acknowledge what the impulse is to do something in a habitual way, but then understand that in that split second, we're not taking 5 minutes to make the choice. In that split second, we have to be aware of what our choices are and say we can do one or another. Obviously, this is we're not talking about addictive behaviors. We're talking about normal habitual behaviors in our life. Though people have used these the same frameworks for dealing with overeating problems and so on. So the next thing Rohn talks about is honesty. Oftentimes people sort of want to conflate integrity and honesty. And he has an interesting comment. He said, some people think that honesty is the best policy, and his point was honesty is the only policy.
That's great.
I think it's a great way for people to think about it. Is once it becomes the only policy.
Then there's no decision.
There's no decision.
It takes a decision out of it, which I like.
Yeah, and I it's the little things that you have to think about. I used to drive my kids crazy, like when they were little and we were in restaurants, and if they were adding the totals by hand, on the check. Back when my kids were little, they were still doing that in some places. And if I caught an error, even if it was in my favor, I would always say something. And they couldn't understand.
It's a great lesson
initially why I was doing that. But the thing is, I saw my father do that. Yeah. Right? That's how I learned it, because he always did that. And I had that same question, why are you doing that? And it was just like, for him, character. And this is really part of the reason we're talking about character, is because, I remember my parents saying, at the end of the day, at the end of your life, the only thing you can really take with you is your character, right? The thing people remember of your legacy is your character. Mm-hmm. So even the small things make a difference. And so we think about that in sales. So we think about cutting corners, or the customer makes a mistake and we want to take advantage of it because it works in our favor. No, it's just, the only policy is to play it by the book.
Yeah, it's not a choice. Don't eliminate the aspect of choice.
Mm-hmm. Right. So Rohn talks about loyalty. Talking about sticking with people when they need us the most. And you think about that in sort of a sales context, is that maybe what that means is you don't always jump to the new job just to make a few more bucks. I mean, this is a concept that is an interesting concept in some businesses where there's a tremendous amount of job mobility.
Yeah.
Where people are basically doing it for the buck. Right.
Well, and in sales. Yeah. That's why a lot of people get into sales. So then there is this question, and I'm confronted with it with sales reps who work for me or choose to go other places, or people who are leaving, who, if it's only about the dollar, and I understand that making money in sales is important, but if it's only about the dollar, that's always a red flag for me. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's true. When we talk about character, it's the same thing when I interview people. If that's where I disagree with managers who think that it's only about the dollar. And interesting, I don't know if you saw, there's new law that went into effect, I think in California now, that you often hear. In fact, I've interviewed people on the show. I said, when you're interviewing people and so on, they wanted to always look for their W-2s, right, from past jobs. You're talking about, how much money they've made, how successful they've been. So it's now a law in California. You can't ask for that information.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, I think it went into effect here in 2018, if I read it correctly, which I hopefully did. So, but yeah, it's anybody that's purely motivated by the dollar. I agree. I think that's to me is a red flag. Okay, so self-sacrifice is another one. It's somewhat related to the loyalty. I mean, I've had situations in my career where I was with a couple of companies where things got kind of tough, and it would have been easy enough to jump ship and gone to another company, but I felt this not just loyalty, but it's almost an imperative to sort of see it through, to help them get through to the other side.
Right.
Have you ever been? I mean, for me, ultimately, in both cases, it turned out from a career perspective to be much, much better, because the experience I got going through that and coming through the other side and creating something even better than what it was on the front end, accrued to my benefit.
Yeah, I think I think in more cases you'll see it accrue to your benefit than not.
A little patience sometimes is
a little patience, yeah.
And I think it's hard for people in sales.
It's hard for me. Yeah, I'm not the most patient, so
it certainly was earlier in my career. But I started through a stage where I learned that lesson relatively early. Whereas with a company that went through some bad times, ultimately got acquired. It was a pretty good acquisition, and stayed and worked with the acquiring company for a year and a half or so. But it was real tempting to jump ship. Mm-hmm. But staying and seeing it through, that was learning that level of patience. Actually, is what it taught me more than anything else. Is that even if things are bad, they're never as bad as you think they are. I mean, the downside is never as bad as you think it's going to be.
Right.
And if you've invested some of yourself in the success of that organization, not just in your own success, then again, you're going to win in the long run by seeing that organization become successful, more so than if you leave to go someplace else and become personally successful.
Yeah, I think that's right. There's a lot of benefit in the building.
Yeah.
And being part of something that's happening, being part of something really great.
Okay.
And don't miss it. You don't want to miss it.
You don't want to miss it. All right. So unfortunately, we need to cut things a little bit shorter today, as we usually do, because you have to go out and sell something.
I know. Got a meeting.
Which is okay.
That's my job.
That's your job.
That's right.
Go sell something.
Self-sacrifice.
Go sell something.
All right.
Bridget, as always, great friends. Thank you for joining us again. Join us again here next week.
Sounds great.